Hi, my name is Arman Shah, president of KITE, and welcome back to the KITE Free Python course. Today we're going to continue learning about dictionaries. So in this video, we are specifically going to go over a very complicated problem, or it's actually not too complicated, but we're going to go over and learn more about this previous problem that we learned about with the Romeo.txt. So we used this file over here, Romeo.txt, and we parsed and found the counts of each word in the file. So this is an excerpt of a file we are going to use, which is a more complicated version of the Romeo.txt. And this file, the Romeo.txt file, this is an excerpt of it, has punctuation in capital letters. So that's a new issue we have to kind of combat because we haven't seen this yet in our previous parsing files. Because of this, we have to take in consideration that strings or lists with punctuation will act differently, and a program such as the program that we used in the previous video, which you could quickly go back to the previous video if you need a reminder, or check your folders for the program and what it looked like. That program will see words such as soft with an exclamation mark and a regular just soft without an exclamation mark as the same thing. Same with a but with capital B and a but without a capital B as different things. So it would see soft and this soft as different. And what we want to do, the goal is we should make a program that sees soft with an exclamation mark and soft as the same word. So how do we do this? So first of all, let's go and open up the file and what it looks like. You could click this in your browser. This will also be in the description of the video. So over here, the file, as you can see, is way longer. It's a whole act, I believe. Oh, sorry, not act, scene. And it has, as we said, commas and capital letters. And so our previous program will get confused. For example, this it with the semicolon will mark and be the different than this it that doesn't have a semicolon but is also capital. But we want our program to see these its as the same thing. So how do we do that? So in order to really avoid and get rid of these challenges with the exclamation mark and the uppercase, we have to use a series of methods that we can manipulate strings with. And we already know a few methods. A few methods may have popped in your mind, such as the lower method, which we could use to make everything in a string or list lowercase, and that solves that problem of confusing the its and the softs because everything would be lowercase now. But now how do we get rid of the punctuation aspect? Well, the punctuation aspect, we could actually use something called the translate method, and we haven't gone over this at all, and it is a very complicated method. That's why I'm only going to teach you a part of it, just for the sake of this video. I would recommend, if you are very interested after this video, to learn the translate method. Look up a course on YouTube on the translate method, a video on YouTube. There are in-depth videos on them, or even forums online where you could find how the translate method works. But pretty much the translate method is used to replace specific characters in strings with other characters, or even remove characters altogether. So the translate method you use with the string, so you do a string.translate, but the parameter itself is actually the makeTrans method again. So the translate method parameter would be the makeTrans method. So let's say you have a string. You would say that string.translate and then string.makeTrans. That's what the translate method would look like. It would be the string translate and then your string and then that dot makeTrans method again, and then they would have three parameters here, and we're going to go over what those three parameters actually look like, because there are three parameters in this method. So the first parameter, we'll call it string1. It specifies the list of characters in a string that need to be replaced. So let's say you want characters in a string, like maybe the first three characters, second three characters, ABC, CDE, whatever it might be, to be replaced. The second is pretty much what to replace those strings with. So let's say string 1 was ABC. Let's say I want to replace that with XYZ. So then string 2, I'll say XYZ and replace that with XYZ in your required string. And now string 3 is entirely different because you could leave it blank if you don't want to delete anything, but if you want to delete it, it's a list of characters that want to be deleted. Let's say your string is A, B, C, D, E, F. I want it just to be X, Y, Z. So what I'll do is I'll say, oh, I want to replace X, A, B, C, place it with X, Y, Z. Then I'll delete D, E, F. So the string 3 is what we're going to be worrying about. It's what deletes stuff in a string. So that's very important to know. String 3, the third parameter in your make trans method, deletes stuff in a string, certain characters in a string. In this case, we're actually not going to be using string 1 and string 2. We're actually going to leave them blank as parameters. We're going to be focusing on deleting stuff. And what are we going to be deleting? We're going to be deleting punctuation. So we already kind of established that we want to remove capital letters and punctuation. We could use remove the capital letters using the dot lower method. But how do we remove the punctuation? Well, we already kind of said that we're going to use a translate and then the make trans. So one thing we have to understand, and we're going to kind of navigate right here in this bottom right corner, is that we can import a string. And I don't know if we talked much about the import. We did talk about the random method, but if we import string, and we could actually kind of acquire or return string punctuation. For example, if I said print string dot punctuation, there should be parentheses over there. If I said print string dot punctuation from importing string, I actually get all the required punctuation. So I'll show you this. So if I were to import string, and let's say print string dot punctuation, let me make sure I spell that right, and I run this, we get all the punctuation on our keyboard pretty much for the most part, and all the punctuation that would be in that text file roamed full. So in theory, we could use the make trans method like this. We can make a string dot translate, then the dot translate make trans. We could use, again, the first and second string will be blank. Why? Because we don't need to use it. But then the third string would be string dot punctuation, because we want to delete all the punctuation in the strings or in the text in general. So if we get the text, we could use the delete that string punctuation, and it will find any punctuation and delete it. So we'll go through this, delete any punctuation, 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 and now think of it as we're templating the file. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to say open, we're going to say file equals open romeo.txt. And you could have an input if you want. For this, for the sake of the video, we're just going to say that the files are romeo.txt. Sorry, romeo_full.txt. Now we're going to have to make our accounts. Because this program is a little more complicated, I'm actually going to use, which I haven't often used, just kind of tagging just to see and kind of pace ourselves and structure ourselves. So now we're going to have to read the file and format the string. So I'm going to say for line in file. So now we have the line in each file. Remember, this is what we have. We have the line in each file. And I'm going to first say that line.rstrip. So first we're going to format. We're going to say format lines. So we're going to first say line equals line.rstrip. Make sure we say that line equals. Then we're going to say line equals line.lower. So what's this going to do is we're going to first strip all that white space on the left of the text file, and then we're going to lowercase everything. So if I were to print line, we'll get everything lowercase, and obviously it won't be any line space. I don't even think there was any line space. As you can see, everything's lowercase, right? But we still have that punctuation error. How do we get rid of that punctuation error? Well, we could say, and we kind of run over this, we're going to use a translate method. So we can say line.translate, and then we're going to do line.makeTrans of that, because that's going to be the parameter. And then there's another parameter that we have to consider, and that's 1, 2, and 3. And we already went over this. First one and second one deal with replacing stuff. In this case, we're not going to be replacing stuff, so we're actually going to leave it blank. We're not replacing anything in the string that we've created, but we're actually deleting something, and that is going to be punctuation. And I messed that up. But one thing we forgot to do is actually import string. Oh, which I actually already had. Sorry. So make sure if you use when you're using the string.punctuation method, you actually have imported the string. I made a cut and I did import it. So now if we print this, run this, everything will be lowercase and everything will have no more punctuation. So we have officially kind of filtered out and formatted this file. So now we are free to use the rest of the program that we learned in the previous video. We can either use a get method, or we could use the just regular kind of logic. So the first thing we're gonna do is words equals line dot split. So what that's gonna do is that going to make a list of all the words in each line. I'm gonna say for word in words, count of that word equals word dot get. We're going to say get the word, this is going to be count dot get word. I'm going to say 0 plus 1. So what this is going to do is we're going to go through each word in the words list we created. So first I'm going to print words, show you what it runs. I'll call this counts. Let's call this counts. So we have these lists. So what we're going to do is we're going to go for each word in each list. We're going to see if they're already using the get method. We're going to assign the index, try to get that word. If there is already a word, we're going to assign it to 0 plus 1, which means 1. If not, we're going to get the value of the word and still add 1 at the end of the day, meaning that value of the word will increase by 1. So if you need more questions on the get method, please see the previous 2 videos. This whole second chunk I don't have to go over because we already kind of went over in the previous 2 videos. Now if I print counts, we will get a whole count of all the words on here. To make it easier, I'm going to stop printing that. Yeah, and now we get a whole counts. So these are some exercises I would recommend going over. If you have any questions on the exercises or how to complete them, or want to see the solutions to the exercises, please join our Discord server. Over there, you could ask a tutor on the Python forums Discord channel, and they will hook you up with the solution. So thank you for joining us. Again, join our Discord if you have any questions. Also, remember to follow our Instagram and Facebook page.